don't never spend my Bitcoin right now until it raises to where I think it needs to be. Remember that number, 100 million. I firmly bet my life that not in my lifetime, but maybe in my children's lifetime, that one Bitcoin today that's worth 40,000 is gonna be worth about $100 million. So what do? I buy and stack for my kids. You can stack for your future.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ahead of the Crypto Curve, where we are creating Satoshi millionaires, one family at a time, one day at a time, one Bitcoin at a time, one Satoshi at a time. And ladies and gentlemen, that means you. I am your host, Najah Roberts, aka Young Harriet, and I am on a mission to lead my people to a freedom out of financial slavery. And so I'm super excited about being here today. And I'm going to start off today with a quote. And I'm doing crypto quotes for some of these months that we don't have special things going on that we need special quotes for. So the very first quote ever in the cryptocurrency space says, if you don't believe it or you don't get it, I don't have the time to try to convince you. Sorry. And that was by Mr. or Mrs. or they, the person who calls themselves Satoshi Nakamoto, which we know is a pseudo-anonymous individual or person, lady, man, black, white, Hispanic. We have no idea who it is, but they call themselves Satoshi Nakamoto. And that was the quote. And this is actually one of the earliest Bitcoin quotes in existence, because we know that the founder of Bitcoin, who again called themselves Satoshi Nakamoto, knew how capable this technology called Bitcoin was. And in those early days, not many people could potentially gather in their mind or just comprehend in their mind or just imagine a new currency. But today, the invention is completely changing the world. And it is safe to assume right now that in those early days, those doubters should have listened and should have did a little bit more research, because we are much further than probably any of them anticipated. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, today is April the 19th, and we're going to talk about the crypto market and a crypto market report. So for those of you that are a little bit more advanced and you'd like to deep dive into an actual crypto market report, you'll have to go to my virtual Underground Railroad for that. But what we're going to try to do on a daily basis is keep it very simple for those individuals that are new to the space and are just trying to catch up and trying to learn a little bit about how this market works. And we don't want to get too technical, and so we won't. So over the last 24 hours, major digital currency assets traded sidelines, with a lot of the volume that has been going through kind of very quiet. We would call it muted. And there was a lot of tax-related selling pressure. And I'm going to say that because yesterday was the deadline to file your taxes and to make sure that you got an extension if you hadn't filed your taxes. And today, consequently, because the IRS website shut down yesterday because there was so much going on in just the regular tax space, but also with the cryptocurrency tax space, they gave extensions until today. So for those of you who thought that you missed the deadline yesterday, it's available for you today. But continuing with our market report, there was a growing regulatory concern, which has been in our space for the last couple of months, and a geopolitical conflict, of course, going on with Ukraine. Sidelines trading could remain as these uncertainties continue to linger. we might see a short-term rally in major cryptos. And so those are your cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, but it is unlikely to be unsustainable. Meanwhile, there's some different cryptocurrencies that are called stable coins, and we talked about stable coins last week. And what stable coins are coins that are either backed by something or they're pegged to something. But this coin called Terra actually flipped, and it is now beating what is called the Binance coin. It's called Binance USD. BUSD is what it's called, and those are stable coins, and it's now the third largest stable coin in the world. So as I explained last week, people like to get involved in stable coins because they feel like if the coin fails, there's something that can back it up, there's something that can repay them their money. But you have to be careful using these stable coins because the thing that it's being backed by may very well not be there if you're dealing with the wrong individuals. And so we want to make sure that our community is safe and understanding that just because it's a stable coin does not mean that it's safer than the coin that we talk to you about all the time, which is Bitcoin. But we're also seeing some of these stable coins that are coming up, and they're backing them with Bitcoin instead of with the US dollar or with, the euro or some of these other things. So we just want to make sure that we're in the right place, studying the right things at the right time, because it can absolutely make a big difference in your portfolio. And again, I will stop and say that we're not saying go all in on cryptocurrency. You are not supposed to be 100% into cryptocurrency, but rather in our community specifically, our strategy should be to just add cryptocurrency to your portfolio. And that means I don't know what other things you're doing, maybe real estate, maybe 401k, annuities, insurance, all of those things need to stay in place. But what you need to do, or what we're suggesting, is that you just add cryptocurrency to your portfolio. So ladies and gentlemen, Ethereum, and we don't talk about Ethereum much, but I've gotten so many calls, so many DMs and emails, people asking about Ethereum. And so I'm going to say that Ethereum had some losses as well. It did below $3,000 in the last 24 hours, and their funding remains firmly negative. And I want to make sure that you're understanding what I'm saying, because most of the time, Bitcoin is the leader, and every other cryptocurrency tends to do almost the same thing as Bitcoin does. So yesterday, Bitcoin dropped to a 5-week low. It went below $38,000 briefly before closing in the green at 40,800. And so we all know that we're not focusing on price, but we do need to know when Bitcoin drops so that we can purchase a little bit more. Those of us who are stacking our Bitcoin, which we call stacking Satoshis, aka stacking stats, we want to make sure that we are understanding when Bitcoin is on sale. But what we do know is that Bitcoin will eventually again where it left off, and it's going to surpass that, and we're looking at it reaching about 41.6 in the next couple of days, and then 42.5 is probably the highest point that it will get in the next week, and we're looking for that to hit that in the near term. So as I stated, Ethereum is following closely in the second, but they did doing some dips as well. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, when we come forward, we'll talk about our crypto scoop, which is our crypto news. This is KBLA Talk 1580. All right, now we are ready for our crypto scoop. There's a lot of good news going on in the cryptocurrency space. First of all, the United States government warns They warn us that North Korea is targeting cryptocurrency firms. So let young Harriet shine some light on this for you. For those of you that are out there that are constantly saying, you know what, right now I'm not comfortable with keeping my cryptocurrency myself, which means you're allowing these cryptocurrency exchanges to hold your cryptocurrency. It may be that your cryptocurrency could be stolen along with everyone else's cryptocurrency. And what this means to you is that you need to hold your own private keys and hold your Bitcoin yourself. No longer should we be allowing entities to hold on to our Bitcoin. So if your Bitcoin is on a Coinbase or a Binance or Kraken or any of those exchanges, the United States yesterday sent out a memorandum that you are at risk because North Korean individuals are targeting cryptocurrency firms. So it was publicly announced, and it's cautioning you all to get your crypto off the exchange. You hear the term all the time, not your keys, not your coin, or as Isaiah Jackson says in the hood, not your keys, not your cheese. So make sure that you're understanding that. But on Monday, 3 major U.S. government entities issued a joint alert on the cyber threats faced by companies working in the blockchain and cryptocurrency sector. These entities were the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and the U.S. Treasury Department. And they made a public announcement as a cybersecurity advisor. And ladies and gentlemen, this is new. So again, we're telling you that everything in this space is just starting and you are at the beginning of history. So the cybersecurity advisor went out yesterday, and these agencies will routinely put out alerts and threats, but they haven't been about cryptocurrency. But this alert said that hacking groups from North Korea are believed to be sponsored by the North Korean regime and are targeting cryptocurrency companies. These groups mentioned in the report, and I won't go through all of the companies that have been identified as funding for people to come and hack cryptocurrencies exchanges. But it says, per the announcement, cryptocurrency exchanges, decentralized finance protocols, and play-to-earn games, venture capitalist firms. So all those VC firms and trading firms are being targeted by hackers to steal and launder crypto assets. And those assets are supposedly being taken so that they can support North Korea. Now that's pretty interesting. Furthermore, the alert added that there are a large number of individual investors that are also at risk of being attacked. And one thing that we learned going to Bitcoin Miami, meeting lots of millionaires out there, is that they trust Coinbase with their cryptocurrency. Their cryptocurrency is on all these different exchanges, and they do not have them in their own private wallet like a Ledger and a Trezor, which is absolutely surprising because I talked to several people that had well over $250,000 on these exchanges just sitting. And it's really scary. It's really scary. But what we're going to do is make sure our community is comfortable with holding your own private wallets, storing your own private keys, and making sure that you're not clicking on links or anything else that could cause malware to be downloaded on your computer, or spyware or malicious applications. We're going to make sure that you're safe. And so we're going to talk about that with our cyber security special. So we want to make sure that you don't get stressed out. But if you are and do have your cryptocurrency on an exchange, it would behoove you right now to go to one of the websites, get a cold storage device, and have it shipped to you. And as I was preparing for this show today, I decided that because we're going to be all across the United States with our locations, I think it would be best for our community to have a place to send your ledgers, to send your trezors, so that it's not at your personal house. So if ledger or trezor ever gets hacked again for their information, people won't have your personal home address. And so we just thought of just a few minutes ago that we will have a crypto mailing service that will be able to be housed in all the communities across the United States. So when you have something such as a ledger that you're ordering, or a trezor, or you want to do anything in this space, you can use the actual mailing address at our cryptocurrency banks and be able to get your hardware, and also just utilize us as an address in this cryptocurrency space. And I think that's going to be a good thing for our community, because we don't want people knowing where we live. Because when this little $200, $300, $400 we have, and I say little because it's nothing compared to what it's going to be in the very near future, but when we do have these funds in our wallets, we don't want people knowing where we live. And so I was having a conversation yesterday with individuals about what this cryptocurrency space looks like. While what we're used to is being bling, bling, blingy, what we need to do is unbling ourselves in this cryptocurrency space, because when this turns into millions and millions of dollars for those of us that are stacking all sorts of coins, specifically Bitcoin, we're going to be in a really good space, a really good place in our life. And we don't want everybody to know where we live and how to have access to us. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to figure out different ways to keep our community safe. And while it may seem like a lot to swallow right now, it's going to be very easy to transact, because that's what my job is. That's what our job at Crypto Blockchain Plug is to make things easier for our community all across the United States. And I know that there's no other entity out there that is looking out for you with your best interests at hand like the Crypto Blockchain Plug is, and their staff. And we spend every day of our lives, every waking moment, thinking of ways to make this better for our community, because we are no longer last to the party. So just know, if you have your cryptocurrency on an exchange, you need to think about moving it relatively quickly, because you become a target just like everybody else who's storing their cryptocurrency on those platforms. And we can actually get your cryptocurrency off the exchange immediately without you having to even buy a ledger or a trezor or a cold key or any of those other actual physical devices. We can do it with a warm storage wallet, which is what we use quite frequently. But if you send me an email at asknajahroberts@gmail.com, again, asknajahroberts@gmail.com, we can send you a link and help you download a wallet, and then help show you how to move your cryptocurrency off some of these exchanges. And for those of you that are new, the exchange is the place that you go and buy your cryptocurrency, or sell your cryptocurrency back to them once you want to get back into the regular US dollar. But that's what we can do for you. And so one of our next stories is the cryptocurrency correlation, curbing inflation, hedge claims. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is something in the cryptocurrency space that's in the air that almost everybody that is trying to convince you that you need to get into cryptocurrency is saying that Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. But as Bitcoin falls and all of the crypto markets follow, it's been around 39,000, and people are feeling like it could possibly not be that hedge against inflation. And I'm telling you all, we're not looking at the exact present. Even though inflation is happening, even though people are struggling, it is going to get worse before it gets better. But if the price of Bitcoin is continuing to do what it has done historically, you're going to be okay. And we want you to know that we still strongly feel that Bitcoin is a hedge against inflation. However, young Harriet is going to shine some light on this for you, because I told you one thing I promised to do in this space is to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, no matter if it goes against something that I feel or that I think. I'm going to let you know the facts. And so what we've seen is a weakness in the cryptocurrency space, largely with the sell-off of the equities and other risks. There's been other derivatives at different companies like Genesis and Global Trading. And Bitcoin has been largely correlated with the NASDAQ 100 index as far as they're concerned. But all of them have been down about 15% so far this year, while Bitcoin is down 16%. As the Federal Reserve has started raising interest rates, ladies and gentlemen, to combat the rampant inflation. And when I say rampant inflation, please know that inflation is rising, and it's going to continue to rise because they have no plan for what they've just created during COVID. So investors seem to have fled the world's largest cryptocurrency, which is Bitcoin, along with other tech-heavy indexes, because they really don't know what to do. But as things start to cool down as far as trading and people trying to figure out if they're going back to work, if they're going to continue to work from home, what stocks are doing what companies are doing what, as things begin to settle, people are going to start to try to figure out what asset is standing the test of time. And we can see it even when other people can't, that it is definitely Bitcoin that is going to withstand some of the pressures of these commodity markets and some of these other things that are going on. So ladies and gentlemen, when we come forward, there's one more article that I want to talk to you about, because I want to make sure that our community is staying involved with the asset or with the property, because they say Bitcoin is property, but with the asset class being directly involved with it as opposed to getting exposure to it. So when we come forward, we'll continue this conversation because we've got a lot to talk about. This is KBLA Talk 1580. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a great situation. I'm just reading about crypto stocks and how they've performed the worst over the last several months, and they've performed worse than actual cryptocurrencies. And I've always told you all, why get exposure to an asset when you can buy it directly? So if we think about things like pork bellies and just things that we can't actually control, you get exposure to them. So you do things like invest in companies that have direct access to it. But Bitcoin is not one of those things that you should allow somebody to get access to for you, because you can do it for yourself. That's the ethos of the Bitcoin community. And the reason why we're talking to you about that over and over again is because I hear so many of our community members saying, you know what, I'll just buy some stocks that have all to do with Bitcoin. But you're not actually getting the asset. You're getting exposure. But studies are out right now that crypto stocks perform worse than the actual cryptocurrencies themselves. So I think that we need to second guess ourselves if we are looking to get exposure as opposed to owning the actual thing. And so this is the first time in history, ladies and gentlemen, that we can control our own destiny. And I can't say that enough. It is so incredibly important that you understand that this is something that you don't need someone else to do for you. Do you know why they've been doing stuff for you before? Because they control it, they manipulate it, and they are the ones that just earn the lion's share of the money. They take fees, they take all sorts of other things and give you the scraps, just like they did in slavery. You know, in slavery, we talk about and teach the kids in some schools, not in all schools, but we teach the kids that during slavery, how we came up with pig feet and pig ears and chitlins and all of those things is because that was what was left after the pig was slaughtered and the good meat went in the house. Well, ladies and gentlemen, your cryptocurrency stocks are what's left over after they got the good meat in the house. And so we no longer have to take the pig ears and the pig feet and chitlins, even though some of y'all love those things. And I cannot stand the smell, but I cannot stand the smell of cryptocurrency stocks and other companies right now that are coming up, popping their heads up, marketing to our community about going with their different funds and their different just all these ETFs and all these other things when you can do this on your own. Ladies and gentlemen, $6 a day. That's all you need to get started with. You don't need Fidelity or Bank of America or anybody else to trade Bitcoin for you. And I'm going to say this because this is what we're talking about. This is not what we're talking about, but you don't need Bank of America or Wells Fargo to store your Bitcoin for you either. For the first time in history, we can do this all by ourselves. So I'm suggesting that you continue to listen in, put on your big girl undies and your big boy undies, and let's do this because it is our turn to make a difference in our financial lives, in our financial family, and in our financial world, because we can do all these things. We can do this. So it just basically says that some of the folks that really felt like Coinbase and Silvergate Capital and Marathon Digital, all these companies are sharply down. And what we're calling, well, what young Harriet is calling the picks and shovels of the cryptocurrency world have been worse lately than the cryptocurrencies themselves. And so do you know in the gold rush, the companies that got flat out wealthy were not the gold miners. It was the people who created Levi's, the picks and shovels, the boots, the hats, all of those things. All of those companies are the ones that made the lion's share of the money during the gold rush. Well, this is the cryptocurrency rush. And you don't have to be the person that's allowing the picks and shovel companies to make money off of what you could have yourself by just going to an exchange, opening up an account, and getting started. Getting yourself off zero is really, really important. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think it would behoove our community today for me to back up just a tad bit to share with you as you go into buying your cryptocurrency, because you may not always use my cryptocurrency exchange. You may want to delve in to some of these other cryptocurrency exchanges. You may even want to delve into a coin that I'm not talking about. And when you do that, you have to go to these exchanges. But it is imperative today that I reiterate what you should be given to these exchanges by way of your personal information. When we come forward, ladies and gentlemen, we will have a talk about exactly what you need to be doing and who you need to be doing it with. And I'm just going to share a personal story before we get our next commercial. When I was a recovering coinaholic, before I was a recovering coinaholic, I can't even say it. Before I was a recovering coinaholic, I would jump on any and every cryptocurrency that I thought was going to be the next Bitcoin. And as a result of that, I had opened at least 32 exchange accounts, which means I gave my name, my address, all this other pertinent information to all of these exchanges. Most of them are not here today. They didn't withstand the test of time. And as you are new in this space, you're going to hear about different cryptocurrency exchanges that you can buy certain coins on. But they're going to be these little offshoot companies. And you've got to decide if it's more important for you to keep control of your information, or if it's more important for you to get this little bitty rinky-dink coin that may or may not do anything, or be involved in an exchange that may or may not be there. So we got to make sure that our information is safe, and we got to, most of all, make sure that you're going and coming into this cryptocurrency space with your eyes wide open. So when we come forward, ladies and gentlemen, we will discuss what information you should absolutely not be giving out online to any exchange, to any email that comes into your inbox, to any text message that you get. You do not give up your personal information. And so we're going to talk about that. And so we're going to make sure that you're clear on how to do business on an exchange. This is KBLA Talk 1580. All right. So you decided to pull the trigger, and you're going to invest in cryptocurrency. And you're going to go to this thing called an exchange, which is where you exchange your money for cryptocurrency. So, a reputable exchange is over 43,000 cryptocurrency exchanges out there. So when you're picking a cryptocurrency exchange, you definitely have to be wise about who you're doing business with. Most of the time you want to do business with someone that you know, like, and trust. But because this is a new space, you've got to pick somebody. So you tend to go with those ones that you see either on TV or that they've named a particular building after in the United States, or they're doing business with NBA teams or NFL teams, etc., etc. And I would say that those are your safest bet. We also have an exchange called Crypto Blockchain Plug, and we'd love to have you as a client. We offer black glove service for our community. But if you choose to use any of these other cryptocurrency exchanges, you need to know that you're going to give them your name. Now, there are some DeFi platforms, which means decentralized finance, which you don't have to give your information. But there's that has its pros and cons too, and maybe we'll talk about that on one of our subsequent shows. But today we're talking about centralized exchanges, and you are going to have to give your name, your address, your date of birth, your social, just like you would open a bank account at the bank. You're going to open up an account at a cryptocurrency exchange. You want to make sure that you are always doing your due diligence when you go on these websites, because they are 100% online. You're going to really pay close attention to the address bar on your computer. So if you go to Binance.com, as you're doing your KYC, your Know Your Customer, we have to know our customer. That's what it stands for. KYC, Know Your Customer. As you're doing your KYC, pay close attention to whether or not it still says Binance.com at the top, or whatever other exchange that you're doing business with, because there's something called phishing scams where you can be inputting your information in what looks like Binance's website, but it's not. And that's why people like to use our exchange, because we're real people that you're able to talk to and make sure your information goes through, etc., etc. With some of these other exchanges, not with some, with all the rest of the exchanges, you have to do this stuff online, and it could be days, even weeks, even months for some people before they even get someone to confirm that their application has actually been submitted. But with that being said, some of the information that you never ever want to give out, ladies and gentlemen, are things such as your mother or your father's, not maiden name, but middle names. Things that can be used to identify you when they're doing your credit checks and things of those sorts. So if you've ever had to verify yourself for a credit check, they may ask you for your parents' middle name, or the name of your first dog, or the name of your oldest child's middle name. Those are some questions that you should never be giving to the exchanges, and I don't care who they are. That information is not needed, specifically because someone can rebuild your whole entire platform, your profile, based on the information that they get like that. Which means if you give them your children's middle name and they're asked that question when they're trying to reconciliate your actual personal profile, they have all the information they need. And unfortunately, nothing in that scenario is going to change as far as that information, because your child's middle name is always going to be your child's middle name. And so you want to make sure that you are giving out just the information that's required and nothing more. When we come forward, ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue to talk about a couple of things that you should not be giving away on the exchanges, because it is detrimental to you eventually. So we want to make sure that you're safe. And we're going to get into our daily dollar cost average when we come forward. This is KBLA Talk 1580. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we're dealing with these cryptocurrency exchanges, there are a couple of other pieces of information that you do not want to disclose. Some of those would be past addresses, because if you have ever looked at your credit and you had to verify yourself, they ask you to identify some old addresses and possibly even the county that those houses were located in. And if you give that information up, someone is forever able to identify themselves as you. So you want to make sure that you're not giving that information to anyone. There is no reason for you to be giving that information up unless you're trying to identify yourself for a credit report or something of that sort. So those are the types of things that you should never give out to cryptocurrency exchanges. Again, your name, your birthday, your social, your current address, because you do have to prove those things. You do need to give those things out, but you don't want to be on all these different rinky-dink exchanges. You need to probably pick one or two at most and go with those and continue to use those, but also know that those exchanges have the potential to get hacked and your information would go with it. Such as mine has, unfortunately, because I was on so many exchanges that my information was all over the dark web. And so it's going to take a long time to try to reel those things in. But I don't want you all to make the same mistakes that I made in this crypto space early on. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our daily dollar cost average. That's our daily cost average, DCA. We call it a DCA because that's what it stands for, is dollar cost average. And a DCA a day keeps poverty away. And so we're going to continue to DCA $6 a day for the next year so I can show you all what it actually looks like at what I put in as opposed to what it will be in a year. So I am your huckleberry. I'm your experiment. So we're going to do this on the Black Wall Street wallet. So right now, ladies and gentlemen, you can open up your cell phone and you can either download the Black Wall Street app, or you can open up the Black Wall Street wallet if you already have it. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick the purple circle that has the 2 arrows that go in both directions. You are going to click on Buy Bitcoin. And once you pick Buy Bitcoin, it's going to take you to the next screen that allows you to put one time or weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, however you want to set it up. You can actually set it up and forget it. But for the sake of this, I'm doing it every single day. So $6 one time. I'm going to hit continue. It's going to show me the price of Bitcoin today. And it's also going to show me that I'm paying approximately 11 cents in fees to the Black Wall Street wallet. And we do that because we support black businesses. And then what we're going to do is click the continue button, and voila, we have actually purchased $6 worth of Satoshis. Satoshis is the smallest increment of a Bitcoin. Just like there are 100 pennies in a dollar, there are 100 million Satoshis in a Bitcoin. Ladies and gentlemen, don't touch that dial. We are making way for DL Hughley and the DL Hughley Show. And DL is the truth. Listen in and enjoy. And when we come forward, the next music you'll hear will be that of the DL Hughley Show. This is Ahead of the Crypto Curve, and I am Najah Roberts. Have an incredible rest of your day. This is KBLA Talk 1580.